What's up, nerds? Why are y'all getting sick? I don't know. All right, so we left off right around that area? Right around here? Oh, we're at the beginning still of this? Okay, sweet. We can do that. All right, so I remember we talked about something being led into the city as though it were this perfect, amazing thing. And what was that? The heifer. Very good. Which is a what? A pure... has never had babies, and if it's white, yeah, that's one of the most significant kinds of sacrifices. Very ancient idea from a lot of different civilizations. So, here we go. Let's continue in that regard. So, as that thing was going on, as this festival of Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, one of the most celebrated things in all of Cyprus, and these heifers have been led in, they're necks snowy white, they have gold laid on them, and their necks have finally been cut. Now we have fumabant, and that means exactly what it looks like. Say it again. Yeah, spewing out, very good. So, go ahead and see what you guys can get off of that. What can you guys get out of that? All right, so we've got Tura, means incense. And incense, kind of like we were singing at chapel today, let incense rise. It's the same idea. Because what does that mean, incense rising? Right, but what does it embody? Remember, there's nothing that happens in any ritual, in any civilization that is just there for fun. It's like it all has meaning. What does incense mean? So when people pray, a lot of the time we do what? We put our hands together, we kind of lock in, and we put our eyes shut and we look down. And that's a certain kind of prayer. It's sort of like contemplative prayer. What's another way to pray? Especially when you're praying out loud. What do a lot of people, even pastors, do when they're praying on behalf of other people, especially a throng of people? What do they do? With their eyes open and with their eyes up and their hands up. Because where is God to us physically? Up, beyond. And so our best physical form of recognizing that is to look up and be up, open-ended like that. Some people call it like supplication prayer, asking. Sometimes it can be just beholding and admiration type prayer. Pleading, all that kind of stuff. It's like you open up, you submit yourself down at the bottom to something up. And so what incense does, and it's kind of referenced in scripture quite a bit, is it's a smell, a pleasing aroma to the Lord. Offer it up as a pleasing aroma to the Lord. And what's the only way for something to actually be once physical and become non-physical? It's still physical once it dies. What do people do usually, like at funerals and things like that? Cremate. So one of the most common ways to do it is to kill it, watch it die, let its blood spill. Sometimes even in the Jewish tradition and other traditions, one of the priests would pray to God about what's going on. They would then thrust we talked about this in mythology a lot. They would grab the bull by the horns, grab the heifer by the horns, put their head on it. Sometimes they would, as the head was on their head, they would cut the throat, and the blood spews. And where does it go? On them. And sometimes if it only got onto them, the priest, then the priest as that intermediator between this beyond world and the world here, physical, would then take a hyssop branch or other kinds of branches with leaves on it, enough leaves to actually sop up the blood, and would throw it at the people. Just flick it at the people. And of course, us were like, that's so psycho. Symbolic beyond belief. And it's not just the Jews. It wasn't just, and obviously this is for Venus, the god of love and beauty and all that kind of stuff. So incense is a quick version where there doesn't have to necessarily be a death, but it's constant. And it's interesting because that was the same in the worship song that we just did this morning too. You remember? Night and day, day and night, let incense rise. Because that's what it is this constant communication between this physical world to something up and beyond. Because where does smoke go? Yeah, up, and then it just disappears. Now, we scientifically, we know kind of what happens to smoke, but even then it's like it's amazing. It's a miracle in and of itself. And it seems common, seems base, seems primitive to most of us when we talk about sacrifices and things like that. But it was the only way to talk to God, was by dying and letting that dead thing rise. And for us, as people who, especially before Jesus, never saw something rise after death, it didn't make sense. Jesus was laid in the ground, like in the womb of death, and then without burning, he rose on his own. And not just spiritually rose to something mysterious, he rose physically, in his body, alive. So it almost seems like it goes against, but yet at the same time absolutely fulfills these kind of festival days, which festus means holy. That's what festival means. It means a holy day. So, here we go. Let's continue on. The incenses are fuming, or were fuming. Cum munera. Munera meaning the same thing as what we saw before. With gift. With a gift. And then we have functus. Having been performed ad aras. At the aras. At the altars. Constitit. What does constitit come from? Huh? It does have that stem in there. Very good. That's to stand. But if you constitit, that means that you have stood completed. That's where we get the whole idea of foundation. So something had been completed. He had completed. And with the gift having been given, and with gift towards the altars, functus meaning what again? What'd y'all say? Having been performed, and then we have constitit, to stand what? Yeah, and who's doing the standing? It is. It's Pygmalion. So he's there. Remember how I said even though he doesn't want to take part in the love and beauty that Venus has given to the feminine citizens, he still is a very reverent man. He still goes. And I kind of already spoiled sort of what happens here. But he's there. So basically this is he stands together with. So you got Stowe Starry exactly right. He took his place. He took his place. And remember I said, it wasn't this grand prayer. Remember I was talking to you guys about yesterday. It wasn't a grand prayer that he gave out loud for everyone to hear. It says this. It says, et timide. So he established himself there near the altars. You could really say not at the altars, but near the altars, with his ritual rites having been performed. Cum munera. It's sort of like Percy Jackson, where at every meal, they scrape off a little bit, give a little gift of their own being, what will be their own being. They give that being to the God that they have in mind. And then as it burns and rises, they pray to that God. And then the smell of that thing rises up. It's amazing. Like Percy Jackson would say that when I put it in, I could smell the sea. And I could feel the air. I could feel the breeze of the ocean. Really beautiful stuff, man. Freaking kid's book, no doubt. It's everything we need, bro. All right, so here, no, really, it's not. But so and he says it timidly. So he kind of puts his will down below theirs. He says, if, D, syncopated version of Dei, if, O gods, potestis, just present tense from posum, if you are able to give cuncta. Man, and it's just like what we were singing at our worship today too. I can't remember the lines, but it's I remember the lines on the board. I just don't remember how the music goes. It was for you are the creator of all things, and to all things should go. To you, all things should go. That was in our worship this morning as well. He said, sit cunjunx. This is subjunctive. Simsi sit. Not it will be, it's let her be. Let her be my wife. Let her be my spouse. Let her truly be this woman that I have Craft it. This dream that can somehow, I can like taste it. It's right there. Let her be real. All right? I wish. Opto. Let her be my wife. I wish. And then he says, non ausus. Or Ovid says, non ausus.
He did not dare.
Yeah. He not, I guess, it's going with Dikara. So he had not dared before, you could even say, he had not dared before to say, I wish what? A Bernea Virgo. I wish that. I wish that my ivory virgin might be my wife, is really kind of how it goes. That sort of sense. You guys were right to translate it left to right that way, to go just like that. But this is what I mean with the poetry. You kind of get more pieces of it as you go on. And there's the final subject, noun, forever. Even though right there was stuff that he was doing. So, all right. And then he said, what? Similis mea a Bernai. Which is, of course, Ovid just being Ovid. What do you think that says right there? Hey, Amelia. So yeah, this is exactly right. Like my ivory, and then this is feminine, so like my ivory girl. So this is actually what he's saying. So as you've gotten through this final line, in order, that's kind of what it felt like. It seems like he's just asking, let my ivory girl become my wife, you know? But it's interesting. We start to realize as you've gone through these lines, and Ovid delays it in such a way that he says something else. Once you realize all the verb relationships and things like that, what he actually ends up saying is, if you, O gods, are able to give all things, let my wife, oh, I wish, which is something he had never dared before, be like my ivory woman. So do you see how he asks this instead? He doesn't think at all. He's a very rational, reverent guy. He doesn't think at all that they'd actually turn his ivory statue into his spouse. He's just saying, let my union with my wife be like the one that I seem to kind of symbolically have with this statue. Yeah, it is. That's very good. So this is Pygmalion. Which one?
Galatea, I said.
Oh, Galatea and Acchus. No, this isn't that. Yeah, that is a yearning love story, though.
Because I remember the statue. I know the statue story.
Yeah, this is.
Please make my wife or my statue into my wife.
Well, and that's what we're saying. That's what a lot of people take it as. Oh, please turn it into my wife. But really what he's doing is, and that's kind of what Ovid makes you think he's doing at the start of this grammar right here. But we find out by going through all the verbs at the end that he's just saying, oh, let my relationship with my spouse, be like, similis me, be like the relationship I have with my ivory statue. That's really what he said.
Not much better.
Well,
Not a much better sentiment.
It's what?
Not a much better sentiment.
I would disagree. I would say it's violently better.
I love my statue so much.
That's violently worse. He's yearning after a real human relationship. That's what I see in it. All right, and then saints it, and then he understood ut ipsa suis adorat venus aurea feistis. So you see some of the normal words. So he understood. Sorry. Let's go a little bit deeper into this. Where's the subject now? Venus is the subject now, so it's not he understood. It's kind of like I spoiled it for you yesterday. Even though he whispered this tiny little prayer, Venus still listened. Because he gave it up in what kind of a spirit? He offered that prayer up in what kind of a spirit? Yep, timide. It was a real ask. That wasn't like the, hey God, we got a game today, help us win the game. Like, that's like one of the most common prayers here at the school.
I like during announcements a few days ago. When
Yeah.
I started prayer with, hey God. I thought that was really fun.
It's brutal. It's lacking in reverence. We don't pray timidly. We don't do it. We do it traditionally. We're stuck in that sort of like holy festus kind of like, it's just is holy, so we do it. But we don't understand that that's like the most terrifying thing you can do is talk to God. That's terrifying. That's soul ripping. He actually sees every single thing about you. When you realize that, it kind of makes you want to throw up. Like, it's crazy. Because we're not used to that. We're used to being kind of alone. And that's what Pygmalion is feeling. He's like, I'm alone. I've never had a partner, ever. I'm not going to base myself to these things that I see that are the result of a curse. Those kind of forever empty, loving relationships. They're not even loving relationships. They just are a shadow of what love could be physically. I yearn for something more. And that's what's so cool about this tiny little bloop. It's so small. Like, how many words is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's 13 words. That's a 13-word prayer. And God heard it. So, God understood. Awareness understood. All right? So, she understood. This is her understanding. All right? Because she herself, just as she herself was Adarat. She was what? This is so amazing. This is Roman mythology showing the immanence of God. She was what? She was Ad Erat, Ad Sum, meaning she was there. Just as she herself was there, and then suis festis, for her own festival, golden. She has everything she needs. And that's, of course, all the pantheons say that the gods only have their power as those who give them their power. The ancient gods only have their power as they are given worship. So these holy days are very important. A lot of really awful things in mythology happened because, like the Caledonian boar hunt.
Yeah.
Yep. Because people accidentally forgot to offer something to the altars of, like, Artemis, a very greedy for her own holiness type. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it turns it. You're right. It turns into like this epic tale, but it starts with the failure of completing this idea, a timid approach towards a divinity. And of course, I have a lot of stuff to say about that, just in terms of fallen spiritual beings in general. It's like they still receive worship, whether we as a nation think we're worshiping things or not. We are. We dedicate our mind, body, and spirit to things, our hearts towards things. We give them ourselves, and they then have the power of what we've given them. We don't talk about things like that. We don't talk about alcohol or sex or greediness and violence and pride like that. Because we don't want to put this weird sort of mythological image on those things. It makes us sound weird. But you read scripture and you'll see. Like one of the most famous verses of all time is, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And it has this sort of like American, like, good job, patriotism. It's like, shut up. That's not at all what he said. He said, let me read it. I might even have it. It says, you can worship the gods that were there from whence you came. You can also worship the gods that are here with the Ammonites if you'd like. But as for me, we're going to worship Yahweh. That's what he says. He's saying, you make your choice now. Because they're there. And they can take whatever you want to give them. So go. Like, there are millions of Israelites at this point. So many. That had so many contradictory ideas about Yahweh leading them through all this crap. At least that's their take on it. But that's Joshua's response, is you can offer them your worship if you'd like. They're right there. You've met them. You've seen their power. You've seen their priests. You've walked through their festies. Like, some of these Israelites had taken part in the religion of these ancient people for hundreds of years. Their generational family members had kind of adopted all that stuff from Egypt and all these people. So he's like, you know that you can go that way if you want. But as for me and my house. That's what he's saying. And if you see that in someone's house, you got to remember that. It's not this weird sort of like thing that you can just blanket state on your, above your dining room table next to like eat and like, those stupid little Hobby Lobby things. Yeah, it's just like, it's such a massive thing to say. My domus, my family, my entire bloodline gives mind, body, spirit, soul to one. It could give to everything else because it's right there for the taking and the having. But we give to this one. So she heard at her own holy day, golden. She has everything she needs. And the wota, meaning basically the what, you can kind of assume, the prayers. Okay. So she understood what those prayers meant. She understood what those really meant. And what? And Where's the verb? That'll probably be the most helpful thing. And she good. Good. Very good. So what do you think? Good. So she led the what? Good. She led the flamme. No. Literal flame here, which is awesome because now we kind of have this, and it's book 10 of Metamorphoses, so we've gotten a long way through before we have this. And it's really cool that you caught that. I wouldn't have thought to say that, but it's true. That's exactly what it is. It's like a real embodiment of all these yearnings that we've seen and all these other stories for 9.5 books. So she led a flame. And then we have this stuff here. Amici numinis omen. She led the flame as a omen. Amici omen, a friendly omen of her numinous. Well, of her what? Not, remember, numina lysa. That Juno's divine will was scorned, and that's why she hates Aeneas so much. But she knows now that Pygmalion has submitted himself to her numina, her spiritual divine will. And so she sends a flame as an omen, friendly of her divine will omen. She sends it to her. 3 times. So really you could say that the flame itself was Akensa 3 times. The flame went just like out of nowhere. Maybe it was the one that was next to him at the altar. I'm not really sure. It just says the flame. But that's what it does. As a friendly omen. I heard you. Yep. Oh, Emma, you've got it, dude. That's really good. Because, I mean, there's so many different kinds of flames, aren't there? There's the fire of change and growth. You know, Vulcan. I got to have this fire in order to make something into what I want it to be, the creator's fire. But then you have Hestia's fire, which is the fire of protection, growth, and unity. Not just growth in like something being made, but growth and unity. The fire that calls people together, the fireplace, the hearth. And then you have the fire of Demeter, which we find out is hers somehow, the fire of immortality. And then we have Venus's fire, which we know relates to fire of passion. Fire is it all. It's all of it. So, and then of course we have the fire of Apollo being related to the sun, light, sight, god of prophecy. Just light in general pertains to all things, which is so wild because what's Jesus' nickname? The light of the world. Like all that fire belongs to him. So, this part right here, just like at its highest point, like it goes at its highest point. It's apex is what we get from this. It's apex. Per ira just means through the sky. So it's not just like a flicker. It's not like a ping, 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 where like only he sees it. This is her really showing him, your humble, tiny prayer got to me. I sought after you. That's another worship song we just had, wasn't it? I sought after you, and you found me. So we get that sense here. God heard. Amidst all the other stuff going on. The heifers had been left in, they've been bled out, they've been burned. But she still listened to this. She had everything that she needed. But she still listened and she gave. Which is so rare for Venus, bro. That's so rare. All right, so here we go. Let's keep going. All right, just as he returned. So redo means to return. So yeah. Just as he returned. All right. What do you think he did? It's his most favorite thing. It's like when you guys go home and you have your thing that you've been waiting to go and do all day. He what? He petted. Just as he returned, he seeks. He seeks the what? Yeah. That man seeks the statue of Puelai Suai, of his girl. He seeks it. He's been longing for it, yearning for it. And what does he do? He did it. He does his thing. He gave, you could probably assume, Oscula, classic. He gives it kisses as he's incubanes. Yeah, he's lying down. Because this is it. Of course, for us, especially, I know for a high schooler to hear the story, it's like, what? But like, you got to see it as the symbol that it is. It's like he returns to it and he immediately wants to be in union with this girl, which everyone knows, as much as we don't want to say that it's the impact of it, but the closest you can get to someone is you lay with them. That's the closest you can get with a person. So that's what he does. On the bed, Toro. Makes it very clear. He's not messing around with his imagery here. All right, visa est. And that's passive for video, which you guys know can translate how? Passive. Seem. So she seemed what? To what? To tepera. To warm. So she's made out of ivory, very cold. And all of a sudden the statue starts to warm. And so he does what? He moves oris. He moves his mouth again. So he's like, wait, it's warm here. Is that probably just because I was touching it? My body warmth kind of, came back from the ivory. So he moves his mouth again. And he also, this is going to be grody, by the way. Just want y'all to know that. He's checking. He's like, wait, is her mouth warm just because This is going to be like Song of Solomon type stuff. Have y'all read Song of Solomon, by the way? It's not a part of the curriculum, not a part of my assignments. After reading this, I would read Song of Solomon. Truly read it. So, he's like, wait. So he takes his monobus, and with his hands also, he tries to touch her chest. All right, and so, this is the subject now. The ivory, good. The ivory becomes soft. The ivory which he had tried, temptatum is a perfect passive participle, so it's just the ivory which he had touched, which he had tried, tested, really, is what that means, tempt, which he had tried, becomes soft. And posito rigora, and with the stiffness having been posita, and with the stiffness having been, it could have been de posita, but he didn't have enough syllables for the epic dactylic hexameter. So with the stiffness having been placed, meaning like put where? Put aside. And with the stiffness having been put aside, you could really do it temporally, like after the stiffness had been put aside of this ivory body, subsided. Yeah, it gives way. You can say she gives way. She gives way and she cadent qua. It's so freaking beautiful, dude. She gives way, subsidit, and she yields to his fingers. It's massively intimate. I know that. But dadgum, it's what everybody wants. The symbol of stiffness, hardness, coldness, for those things to once again become warm and unified again. So I know that this Pygmalion story feels like a goober one, especially in high school. It's like, oh, he fell in love with a statue. It's like, dude, it's mythology, which means it means everything. All right, good job. Go home.